Good morning, Honors Algebra 1. We are in week 7, and today is May 18th. And this week, we are going to be looking at section 8.7 and 8.8, which involve special cases and grouping. So let's get started. Factoring special cases. When we were looking at multiplying, we were actually given this beginning piece here and then told that it equals this. Well, now we're looking at it in reverse. If we have a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, you can go ahead and rewrite it like this if you notice a pattern. That's kind of the idea. And the same thing for the second one. If you have a squared minus 2ab plus b squared and you notice that there's a pattern here, we can rewrite it like this. That's kind of the idea. With that being said, if you don't notice the pattern, that's totally okay. You can still factor these just like normal. So let me show you. Looking at the first one, I notice that x squared is technically 1x squared, and the square root of 1 is 1. Looking at this one for my 16, the square root of 16 is 4. So what I can derive from this is if I had x plus 4 squared, or x plus 4 times x plus 4, it's going to give me that trinomial. Now, to see if it actually works out, we could actually FOIL this, and we would get x squared plus 4x plus 4x plus 16. Right? And then these would combine to give us 8x. So it does work. Looking at the second one, same exact process here. I'm looking at my 4, so that in the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of x squared is x, so that would be my starting piece, would be 2x. And then looking at my 9, the square root of 9 is 3. And because we're subtracting here, it's going to be minus 3. And that would be squared. So again, that's the same thing as 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3. And again, if I went ahead and I wanted to FOIL this out, 2x times 2x gives us 4x squared. 2x times negative 3 gives us negative 6x. We get it again, and then we get a positive 9, and then these combine into negative 12x. Now, this is a really nice pattern to see, but if this step confuses you and you're like, I can't do this, you can factor these, just like we've been doing, totally fine. You'll get to this part here and this part here, and the only thing that I want you guys to do at the end then is to write it like this. So if you notice that you get the same two pieces, we can rewrite it to look like the green, okay? So looking here, I'm actually gonna factor these like we normally would, but then also show you how it could also work out. So looking at number 1, if I made my chart, right, 4 times 9 is 36. So now I have to think about what numbers would add up to 36 or add up to 12. And I'm thinking we have 3 and 12. That's not going to work. 9 and 4 will not work. Let me see. But 6 and 6 work. So I could rewrite this as 9x squared plus 6x plus 6x plus 4, and then group them. I can pull out a 3x here and get 3x plus 2. I could pull out a 2 here and get 3x plus 2. And if you notice, this is 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 2, which is then simply 3x plus 2 squared. Now, we could have figured that out very easily, mainly by looking at the 9. Well, the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of x is x. And then the square root of 4 is 2. So you're saving steps. But with that being said, you can still factor these out. Now, looking at number 2, if I do 16 times 25, I'm going to get a massive number. And then trying to figure out what I'm going to get to add up to negative 40 is going to take way too much time. So in that case, I would not factor like normal. I would use this method. So if I'm looking at my 16x squared, the square root of 16 is 4. The square root of x squared is x. If I'm looking here at my 25, the square root of that is 5. And I'm just going to rewrite it as 4x. I do have a minus sign here, so I have to make sure that this is a minus. But then it's just going to be 5 squared. And if you want to double check your work, go ahead, right? 4x times 4x is going to give me 16x squared. 4x times a negative 5 gives us negative 20x both times. And then negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25. If we combine these two middle terms, I do get my negative 40x, so it works. But for that one, I would not do 16 times 25. That would just take too much time. Okay, so 4x minus 5 all being squared is our final answer. The other thing that we can do is if we notice that we have a squared minus b squared, we can write it in this form. So we've done this as well, but looking at it in the opposite direction, right? So again, you could go ahead and you could factor these, but I feel like sometimes if you see the pattern, it's just easier to do. So if I'm looking here, 25, the square root of that is 5, the square root of x squared is x, and then the square root of 36 is 6. So I know that this is going to turn into 5x plus 6 times 5x minus 6. And again, I could multiply or FOIL these just to make sure. 5x times 5x is 25x squared. I get 5x times negative 6, which is minus 30x. Then I get plus 30x. Notice those cancel. And then 6 times negative 6 is negative 36. So it works, right? So then looking at these ones, you could find your AC, right? I could find that my AC value for number 3 is negative 16. And then I'm like, okay, well then what numbers would I get? Well, I would get a positive 4 and a negative 4. So if I wrote it as x squared plus 4x minus 4x minus 16, and then I factor by breaking them up into their pairs, I'm going to get x times x plus 4, and then I'm going to have my negative 4, and then x plus 4. And if you notice, I get x plus 4, and then I have my x minus 4. So it does work, right? I could have broken this into an x, this into a 4, and still have gotten that answer with less steps. So square root of 9 is 3. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 4 is 2. So that means I'm going to have 3x minus 2 or plus 2. Doesn't matter which one comes first. And then minus 2. And that's it. So the second thing we're going to look at is factoring by grouping. So in 8.6, we were splitting bx into the sum of two monomials, meaning we were putting two numbers there, right? That's what I did over here with my 4x's. So that's what I'm talking about. That's called grouping. Because we're grouping the left and the right side together, and sometimes we actually have to group to be able to pull things out. So we're going to practice this, and this is really good for polynomials with a degree higher than 2. So notice here, my degree is a 3, so I'm going to factor by grouping. So my first group here is this piece here, and I notice I can pull out a 7 and an x squared. And when I do that, I'm left with x minus 42 divided by 7 is 6. And then if I look at my second group, I know I can pull out a negative 2, which gives us x minus 6. So we have x minus 6 in common, and then we have our 7x squared minus 2. And that's it. So we didn't have to find an AC value. We didn't have to break up the middle terms, right? All we had to do was group them together and then factor out the greatest common factor, and we're done. So let's do this again. I'm going to break up this piece, and I notice I can pull out a 3x cubed. And when I do that, I'm left with x plus 1. And then looking at the second one, I can pull out a negative 12x. And when I do that, I'm left with x plus 1 as well. And then when I go to rewrite this, right, they both have an x plus 1. And then I have my 3x cubed minus 12x. And again, we're good to go. Now, if you're looking at the second one, I could pull out another 3x and then write this as multiplication of 3 binomials, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to leave it like this. Okay, so due on Wednesday at 3 p.m., you do have your online learning slides. They are longer like last week, so there is not an additional worksheet due that day. Then on Friday, you do have your worksheet. I'm not giving you textbook work this week, mainly because I don't like the questions from the textbook. So you will have a worksheet instead, and you also have Khan Academy that is assigned to you. Khan Academy does not cover factoring by grouping, so doing bigger numbers. So you will not be getting that on Khan Academy, but it is on your worksheet and slides. So if you guys have any questions, I will be holding a live class on Wednesday, and I'll probably pick a couple questions from your learning slides to go over just in case. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Bye.